watching GEM, Connecting Lives.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Van Schemelhout. In a world where events impact our lives, what events awaken your soul? Today we'll share with you some of the most life-altering experiences of ordinary people with extraordinary faith, the kind of faith that rescues, strengthens, and provides. Welcome to Stories of Faith. Our first story will meet a man who traveled many miles across the sea in order to make his dream a reality. This is the story of Pauline Jolly.
Brother Pauline Jolly entered the Church of Christ in 1983, and here he found a home.
To prepare for
being a member of the Church of Christ changed my life. It gave me direction I did not have before in other churches.
And while his heart discovered a place of comfort and peace, thoughts of a family far off lingered in his mind.
Well, I have a few uncles living in the Dominican Republic, and they have many children there. And I decided to take a trip there. When I get there, they was so joyful to see me. And before I left, I told them about the Church of Christ. I told them the only way I will come back again if they allow the Church of Christ to take a hold in the Dominican Republic.
The words of God that had given Brother Pauline direction showed him a way to accomplish his dream. He was inspired by a story in the Bible.
Well, just like, the Samaritan woman, and I like to spread the gospel and let everybody else knows about it.
So he wrote to the church administration, asking them to send a minister to the Dominican Republic to preach God's words to the members of his family. His request was granted.
Well, I was happy when the church administration answered my letters. And the next day I called my uncle in the Dominican Republic. I told him we could be there anytime from now. Oh, I love everything about them. I would like to see them become members of the Church of Christ, all of them. That's my wishes, is that they become good member of the Church of Christ. And they'll be among those who will be saved.
God knew how much Brother Pauline wanted to bring the teachings of the Church of Christ to the lives of his relatives and its countrymen. Finally, the day came when it was time to see Brother Pauline's dream come true, the dream of traveling back to his home country, but this time to share his faith. Brother Jerry Parocha, the minister then from Miami, Florida, and Brother Terry Borgard, both fluent in Spanish, accompanied Brother Pauline to the Dominican Republic. Waiting for their journey to begin, they knew this would be the beginning of something special.
As enviado. El Señor Jesucristo fue enviado por él.
The missionizing brothers were welcomed with open arms. People flooded in to hear the message brought from across the sea, and Brother Jerry immediately began preaching.
Vosotros pues oraréis así, Padre nuestro.
The Bible students are very receptive. They're very open-minded, and they were very attentive and interested in listening to the doctrines. But in spite of the fact that they are not yet baptized members, the way they received us, inspired us to, in spite of the fact that they are not yet baptized, to really continue the work that we had begun in them.
To date, the brethren have taken 2 trips to the region, trips they were happy to take, and they are willing to venture out again and again. All this began with one man's deep concern for the salvation of his family members, but an even greater love for his faith and membership in the Church of Christ. But for Brother Paulin, he doesn't see this as a great accomplishment on his part. He sees sharing his faith and doing God's work as the most natural thing to do.
Well, I feel very good about it, but I think everything is for the glory of God in the first place. And, I'm a servant of God. Anytime He uses me to do His work, I feel good about it.
George Maloney of Long Beach, California, spent the majority of his life traveling. Little did he know where these travels would actually lead him. Here's that story.
My name is George Maloney. I am presently deacon and also LOS president, or Light of Salvation president. Coming from Massachusetts, I was really involved in the Catholic Church. I was a Knight of Columbus. I was also a Knight of Malta. And I was, growing up, I was a altar boy and one of the right-hand men of all the Catholic troops in Boy Scouting for all the New England district from Maine to New York City. My parents were involved in, they were show people in the Barnum Bailey Circus. I grew up in the Barnum Bailey Circus until I was 8 years old. And as a lot of circus people are transient people. And I wound up mostly, when the circus was not functioning, I wound up in foster homes from the state. I was first introduced to the church by going and living in the Philippines. I lived there for 8.5 years as an engineer in civilian life, as an engineer. When I first saw the Church of Christ, all the buildings, and which were chapels, but I didn't know that at the time. And I thought that that was Muslim religion or some other religion because of the large spires on the outside of the buildings. And it was not till quite later that I discovered that they were in fact chapels and that they were the Church of Christ. And then I was introduced to my wife, my future wife, and she told me that they were the Church of Christ. And she then introduced me to the church by bringing me to the central office. I was impressed by the buildings, by the way that people reacted to each other. There was that feeling of belonging that got me and brought me there. It was not until I found the Church of Christ that I felt comfort, I felt I was at home, and I felt I was at peace. So it had completely changed me. I don't have anymore the things that I thought were the important things in life, but God provides exactly what you need, and you never go wanting, and I am very happy with my life. This time around, I'm anxious to, I spend a great deal of my time here in the church, and I have a very happy home life and a very nice family. The experience that I've had in the Church of Christ is one that cannot be measured by money or political gain or anything in this world. It is unique. You can only experience it if you are a member. Again, I felt that feeling of belonging, which probably my entire life I was looking for.
Now meet Elvia Garcia of Temple Hills, Maryland. See how a one-year medical internship ignited a chain of events that changed her life forever. This is her story.
My name is Sister Elvia Garcia, and I am coming from Temple Hill local. I am working in church as a deaconess, and I also do oversee. I used to be a professor in the Zulia University for 25 years, but I also did rehabilitation medicine, and I have the opportunity to come to this country to do a fellowship in neurodiagnosis, which I am doing right now. I spent my whole life a student because I went to the school, you know, the elementary, the high school, and then the university, and I did in the medical school. I am a medical doctor. I have the opportunity to come to this country, the United States. I was offered 3 locations to go: New York, Boston, and Washington, D.C. And then I went to the hospital, Grede Saudis Community Hospital, where I met the person who brought me to the church. I was in the hospital for 2 years, and then when I finished my 2 years internship in the hospital, I was working for 1 year with Dr. Daniel Ignacio, who was the one who brought me to the church. And the first time that I came to the church, it was a Grand Evangelical Mission, and he invited me to go to the Grand Evangelical Mission. It was on July of '88. He invited me to have the Bible study. But you know, my husband and me, we were seeking for God. When we started studying the Bible here, it was with Brother Eddie San Gabriel. He was the one who taught us about the Bible. He was the one who baptized us. And when we finished our classes, we decided to be baptized. We like all the teaching. But at that time, my children was not still in the Bible study. When we saw that it was good, we asked Brother Eddie San Gabriel that we want our children to be teach also, and they did. They teach, they learn. He teach and they learn everything about the Bible, and they were baptized also. Well, it was in 1990 when I went back to Venezuela. As I told you before, I was a professor in the medical school in the Zulia University, and I was supposed to teach them all the things that I learned here when I did my fellowship. During that time, during that 10 years, which I was already baptized, the central office didn't abandon us and my family, me and my family. They take care of us. They always send tape to us. They always send every 3 months a minister to my home to take care of us. It was hard, you know, because it's different when you listen the God words and when you listen a tape. You know that the tape is something passive. It was so hard for us because you need, after you learn God words, you need that. It's the food for your soul. And you need that. It was so hard. And it was the only reason why I came back here. I left everything in my country. I used to have my own office as a rehabilitation medicine doctor. I left that. I left my home there. I used to have my house there, and I left. I left everything because we don't have teachers. And as I told you before, I also lost my husband. This is why it has been so hard for me now to survive in this country. But I am trying to do. And I know God is on my side.
Our next story is about a man who learned that the most precious gifts a person can give to another are the gifts that come from the heart. This is his story.
These kids have gathered to see someone who's coming to town. They hear it's someone with a huge heart. Years ago, Jim Lee Valerio, born and raised in Hawaii, visited the Philippines to study. But his most precious lessons learned weren't from school.
When I was in the Philippines, I met a lot of people, especially poor people. I worked with all the kids, and I saw all the hardship that they had. I started giving out toys, even like a whistle, a small whistle. They really liked it and cherished it. I mean, if you give a child here just a whistle, they're gonna say, "What's that?" I mean, they don't think of it as a precious thing, but in the Philippines, a small whistle means a lot.
Since 1989, every time Brother Jim Lee Valerio goes back home to the Philippines, he spends months gathering toys, candy, and school supplies to distribute to the children in his hometown in Bataan. Now married with children, his family shares the same generous spirit.
I carried this side, carried that side. Oh, look at those shoes. Where's the shoes? That's pretty.
You give it to them, they look at it. It's like they want, you can see it, they're so eager to open it. And you see them playing with those toys. And when we get out, and then they would be pointing at us, you know, and they would say, "Hey, those are the people that gave us these toys." And it's like, they remember. They remember that it's coming from you.
During their most recent trip, they had boxes and boxes filled with goodies, most of which were considered as excess baggage. And when they arrive in the Philippines, they are greeted by scores of smiling faces.
This makes me feel glad inside or happy. It brings me closer to God. You can't describe it, but it's a beautiful thing. It took about 12 years to find out why I'm doing this. I mean, the 9 months that I was going to school there, I didn't learn anything. But like I said, I did learn something, and I thank God for that He made me a better man and to cherish small things in life.
The Valerios are a typical middle-class family who may not have a lot to begin with, but are rich with the joy of giving, the kind of priceless virtue that they hope to pass on to their children.
Well, from my experience, I hope my children would learn how to share and cherish small things in life. I want to pass that on to my kids.
Little do they know, their hopes have already been realized.
Yes, I give my toys.
Jamian, what kind of toys do you give?
This scenario for the whistle. I gave one of my favorite toys to this boy, and when I gave it, I felt very happy because I felt like I got something and he got something more, and it made me feel happy.
When life seems perfect, we can't help but feel content. But what happens when life has a change of heart? What happens when all that was perfect fades? For our next story, we'll meet Marita Evangelista of Philadelphia, and we'll witness the great strength she possessed during a time when others find no hope. This is her story.
I'm Sister Marita Evangelista of the local of Philadelphia, presently a deaconess and a local auditor. We were an ordinary family, I think. We were happy doing our work as members of the church. Brother Roger was beginning to enjoy his retirement already. He retired in 1996, and he was beginning to relax and enjoy. He was enjoying his retirement. Him and my son always went together, you know, fishing. They go to the barber shop together. They go shopping together. They did everything together. It was a very happy family, I think. My ordeal started 5 years ago. My husband took ill, and I stopped working to take care of him. He had open heart surgery, and then after a routine stress test, he went into complete coma. That day, I cannot forget that day. It's April 12, 1999. This was approximately 2 months after he had open heart surgery. He was happy we were preparing to go to the doctor. I brought him there, I drove him to the doctor, and we were not rushed, we were there plenty of time. He went in 10:30 exactly, and 10 minutes to 11 they called me in, and I went in and talked to the doctor, and the doctor told me that he passed out. He had an allergic reaction from the medication they gave him, and that he is being rushed to the hospital. When the doctor said that, I was shocked. I was sitting, but I kind of slid down from my chair, and they thought I fainted, but I kneeled down because I wanted to say a quick prayer that he is okay and on his way to the hospital. And after that, I just went to the hospital and tried to get near as possible to him. But it was 2 hours before I could see him. At that time, it was touch and go. They were all shaking their heads. Of course, they will not say that they don't have hope, but just from the way they were acting, being a nurse myself, I know that his situation was grave. So when my son came over, we prayed, and then we went to look at him, and I didn't lose hope. So I was hopeful, and of course, I know that whenever you pray for something, you have to put your trust that if it's good for you, you would receive it from God. So even though I see that they're all shaking their heads, we kept the hope. At that point, I had already put my whole trust in God, and I wasn't really listening to what they were saying. And I said to them, I want some planning done that my husband has to come home with us, because my son and I have decided that this is where he belongs. Well, in the beginning, it was difficult. Brother Roger couldn't do anything, so he cannot be left more than 2 hours by himself. So I was not sleeping more than hour and a half. I have to give my son a crash course in nursing care, and showed him how to clear and do what I was doing for my husband, so that I could get some sleep, and he was very good, he learned fast, plus he loved his dad, so that, gave me some support and gave me the strength to, go on. It was a trying time. It was a trying time for us, and of course, you keep the hope alive. Mostly we prayed for him to not be in pain, for him to be comfortable, and for him to have his faculty in his mind so that he can still praise God even though he cannot talk and he cannot pray and he cannot say it that we can hear, but that he would be given the clarity of mind so that he can pray to God too for himself. I think the faith that we had got clearer more in our minds, because going through something like that, watching your loved one unable to say where it hurts or whether something is itchy or whether he's hungry or cold, and it is a very trying time, but we prayed for strength and we prayed for understanding what it was. And towards the end, when we finally lost Brother Roger, when I called my son to come, my fear was that he might grow weak because we did not receive a positive response to our prayers. So I prayed while I was waiting for him that God would give him the strength of faith to go through. After all, we went through a lot already. And when my son came and he said to me, "We'll be okay, Mom. You know that prayer is either yes or no. This time it is no. But we thank God anyway." I felt like something was taken out of, like, was lifted off me, you know, and I was happy. And that was the answer to the prayer. That was the understanding that I wanted, that I was praying for. I do not know how I would have gone through if I was not a member of the Church of Christ. I don't know how I would have gone through this. Throughout all the difficult times, you know, even the happy times, that kept me, you know, stronger. That reinforced my faith that no matter what happens, whether 10 years more has to go by, I will be able to go through it. That's how my faith has kept me.
You've just witnessed the stories of people whose lives may have never crossed paths, but were linked together simply by their stories of faith. I'm Cynthia Van Schemelhout. Thanks for watching. See you next time.